Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, LuAnn. LuAnn has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. LuAnn brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Power Talk Friday on A Well-Designed Business. I am absolutely delighted to welcome Natalie Eckdahl to the show today. Hi Natalie, how are you?
Hi LuAnn, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, you're funny because you're excited. I'm excited. This is really fun for me because you know, I've had this experience with my listeners when I meet them at an event or something and they tell me the ways that my podcast has impacted their lives and changed their lives. And this is my experience with you, Natalie. I started listening to your podcast a couple of years ago before I launched my own podcast. And I love what you do. And I have to thank you first before I even tell everybody who you are and why you are so amazing at it. But I want to thank you truly because you really have helped me in my journey. And, you know, really, I mean, even after 30 years in business, there's things I've learned from you and I've taken back to Window Works. I'm like, guys, we got to do this.
Wow.
So, no, seriously.
Thank you, LuAnn. That really means a lot. And you are someone who I admire as well. So it's mutual. The feelings are all mutual.
Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, and it's funny, I'm just going to tell everybody one funny story too, is I remember when I met you last year at Podcast Movement, and it wasn't exactly that I met you, is that I found myself standing next to you and I went, hey, you're Natalie. Like, you know, I was 12 years old. And you just looked at me, you're like, yes, I am. And I'm like, okay, never mind. Go back to talking with your friends. I'll be. So it's funny. But anyway, so listen to me, guys. I have told you guys about Natalie Eckdahl. She is the founder of the Biz Chix and the host of the Biz Chix Podcast. I've told you about her more than a few times and referenced her more than a few times, but I'm going to give you a little bit of her actual street cred, okay? She is a business strategist. She's a high performance coach, and she helps high achieving women entrepreneurs across all industries and time zones build, grow, and scale their businesses, okay? She is the founder, as I said, of the Biz Chix Podcast and the community, and she has been recognized as one of the top women in business to listen to. And I can, you know, hands up on that. I can give you a high five there. That is for sure. She's been featured in Inc., Fast Company, Huffington Post, and Entrepreneur. Holy moly. She has an MBA. She has 20 plus years of work experience. She has over 200 podcast interviews with influencers and everybody in the industry. What I also love is that she is famous for doing her on-air coaching calls, which are extremely helpful, extremely valuable, and she's very intuitive. And I love the way you pull out information, and I love the way that you see the little nugget in somebody and help them and move them. And so in addition to all of this, she has her husband, Mark, and she has 3 kids, ages 2 to 15. So Natalie is truly a woman who has got a full plate. And I don't know how you find time to do all this stuff, but I'm for one, extremely grateful that you do. So today, I'm very fortunate and lucky because I'm going to pick your brain, Natalie. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. And the way I do it all is that I don't do it all myself. So I just want to make that clear. I have a lot of things that I have going on, but I also have help. So at home and at work. So I just want to put that out there.
Well, it's true. And it's one of the things, I mean, it is one of the things that you actually do mention often on your podcast too, when you're doing your on-air coaching with people is you look around and say, do you need to be the one doing the laundry? Do you need to be the one doing the housekeeping? If you're a solopreneur, can you offload something so that you can spend time in your business? And that's what I love about your advice. It's just so practical. And I remember saying the same thing to my husband a gabillion years ago. I'm like, you know, I spend all day Saturday cleaning this darn house. And then when it takes me 4.5 hours to clean this house. And then I have to go grocery shopping and then meal prep it. And I'm like, you know, there's 4 kids in this house and it would be really swell if I could work on Saturday and somebody else could do this stuff and we could make more sales.
Yes.
So, right? So that's
exactly.
Why there's so many things that you say that I think, yes, I know that's true. And then so many things that you say that I'm like, good insight. I didn't think about that. So here's the thing. You have spent several years now doing one-on-one coaching with people and trying to get their business off the ground and maybe just even not always off the ground, not always startups, but reconfiguring people's business and getting them on the right track to being profitable. And I'm wondering, Natalie, in your experience, do you find after, session after session and experience after experience, are there common things that ring true when a business or a business person is struggling?
Definitely. Definitely. I find that a brand new business owner, one of the first things that they're struggling with is actually making money. So that making that, I call it like, you've just got to go make your first $1. Like, I want someone to pay you at least $1. And, really getting to those touch points of like making that first $1,000, making the first $10,000 and on up to building up to, whatever your goal is for your business. But often I find people are, they're shy about letting people know about their work. And really the way that most of us start our business and the way our first clients and customers come to us is through our personal network. And so it takes a lot of courage, to put yourself out there with your personal network and to try to get referrals and even work with your friends and family.
And that's a perfect opportunity for interior designers to put themselves out there. I've had designers on the show say that just by letting the other women in the pickup line at the school or at the PTA meeting know that, this is what I do for a living. One client, becomes a second client, becomes a third client. And that's what you're saying is be proud of the business that you have and let your circle know about it, right?
Yes. And even if you are not feeling fully confident, because when we're first starting out and along the way, we're dealing with confidence issues and battling our mind is what I call it. And honestly, the hardest part about being an entrepreneur is dealing with your own mindset. Every time you do something to the next level or you start thinking about going to the next level in your business, you're going to have to do battle in your mind first before you can get there. And it's especially true when you're first starting out because you don't want to disappoint anyone around you and you don't quite have the confidence to know how great you're going to be. And so, but our friends and family, exactly as you're saying, everyone should know exactly what you do. And there's ways to authentically do that, through social media. I really want people to use their personal social media page just to let people know what they're doing, not to really be salesy by any means, but hey, I'm here at this for interior designers, hey, I'm here at the store. Look at this amazing, piece I found for my new client, or look at this kitchen design, that I found. I actually have one client that is an interior designer, and we did a coaching call together, and I learned that she loves doing kitchens. And so we talked about niching down to just doing kitchens and the benefits of that. And so now every day she's posting these kitchen of the day photos, and I'm like loving them. I personally love them. I like seeing all these new kitchens, and it makes me think, I might need to hire someone to help me do it. I want to redo my kitchen now. But it's helping her really focus. And, but again, going back to our personal network, and you just never know who is going to have a contact for you. And it's usually not that person in your network. It's a friend of a friend, or my mom or my cousin, or, we're all talking and in community, and we need to take advantage of that.
It's the truth. But I hear what you're saying. You have compassion and empathy for the newer business owner that struggles with doing that, because, and it rings true for me. I'll tell you why, because I'm in a Facebook group with interior designers, and one of them within the last 2 or 3 months actually expressed in the group how the whole group is encouraging visibility, and the whole group is encouraging, the leaders of the group are amazing. They're encouraging visibility and encouraging the designers to put themselves out there just the way you're describing. And one of the designers came back in a post and said, it's funny because it's hard for me to do this because often my closest friends and family will say to me, why are you always putting that stuff out there? Like, what are you doing? And she struggled with explaining to them that I know, mom, dad, sister, brother, what I do, but this is how I'm letting our extended network know. But it was like, I remember I was looking at that thinking, gosh, like how challenging that was for her to say that I'm getting a little pushback from my own family and friends about doing this. And I'm just, it's hard, right, Natalie? I mean, but that's what you ask them to push through it, right?
I do. And of course there's a balance. So if she was doing something about her business every day, that might be excessive, on a platform like Facebook, or Instagram. Like it needs to be, unless it's your business Instagram, but if it's a personal account, we do need to be careful because I do see, especially I see a lot of women that are, join a multi-level marketing company. They get a lot of coaching to put stuff all the time about here's before and after photos and, check out this new thing you could get. And so we do, and we've all seen that too and experienced how that makes us feel, and maybe even unfollowed some people that are doing that, maybe unfriended some people.
Right.
So there is a balance to it, a kind of an art of doing it. And so I have kind of 2 points there. Is one, it shouldn't be every day, but it should be, maybe once a week, or, there's something natural about it, especially if you're just sharing your day. Like, here's the things I did today, whatever feels natural to how you post.
Right.
I would also challenge that person. Was it really just one person that made that comment to him?
That's a good point.
I would be curious to know if it was just her mom or her best friend.
Right.
I doubt it was a lot of people. I bet it was literally one person that's very important to her that actually is not a supportive person of the business.
Right.
So
therefore
that's what I would challenge
magnified it in her mind. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because I didn't get the impression that it was somebody that was overly posting. I more got the impression that it was somebody who had recently put her feet in the water with doing it and then kind of got smacked right back on it. Do you know what I mean?
I bet it was a parent or a sibling or a very close friend that is, or someone who's a friend that's actually not supportive in like they're negative about everything you're going to do. So we just have to be careful who we are amplifying to that VIP level in our mind. Like there are people whose input we want to take, right? That have great advice to give us, that have great insight and that are intuitive. And there's other people that are just not supportive. They may, be a close family member or a friend or, but they maybe don't get to have that kind of say in our business.
Yeah. And I think, see, this is exactly it. Here's the proof in the pudding. This is exactly why I love now talking with you, but listening to you, because that is a really intuitive thought right there, Natalie, that somebody probably had one comment and just felt like the world. And when you can really
very close to her.
Yeah, when you boil it down to one person, and when it is somebody that's close, it's hurtful. But when you boil it down in that logical way, it's like, okay, let me not get off the deep end on this. This is one person, and as you said, if you look at it a little further, it probably is a person that can typically be negative. So take a look. Your advice is to take a look, evaluate, make sure you aren't doing anything overly absurd and driving everybody crazy. But if you really come to the conclusion that you are really promoting your business in the right way, in a positive way, you can let the negative thoughts here and there and the negative naysayer here and there run by the wayside. So I love that. Okay, so let me ask you a question. What I find, Natalie, and I'm curious how you find it, is I feel like many times when I'm talking to people in business that they're not having things in place to actually monitor if they are making money. They just go week and month and year on and just assume that there's money in the checkbook, it must be happening. What do you run into, and how do you counsel that?
Well, first of all, especially if we're talking about someone just starting out, you need to have a business bank account. So we cannot be running it all through our personal checking account. And also we cannot be paying for things out of our business account that are personal. So I see some mixing of funds going on, and it's really important to, you will feel like a real business person when you have a real business account. And then you will feel like a boss CEO when you regularly transfer money from your business account to your family account. And that's what I call your profit. So whether you consider it owner's pay or owner's pay plus profit, but it's the money you make in your business. You pay your expenses, you pay your taxes, and then you can transfer that money from your business to your personal account for your family to spend or save. And that is honestly, to me, when you have a true business and knowing your numbers in your business, what's coming in, what's going out, and what your taxes are, treating all of that with respect, it will allow you to take your business farther, and you won't be worried. I also hear people, worried about taxes, and it's important to get, advice from a tax professional about what you should be setting aside, what quarterly taxes you should be paying. But I do find it interesting. I think especially as women, we tend to not talk about money with each other. We tend to think someone else should be focusing on the money, and it's our business. We need to be focusing on the money. No one else is going to do it.
I always say it's not a hobby, right? I mean, if it's a hobby, we don't have to do any. I always say, if I want a hobby, I'll get to my yoga class. You know what I mean? I don't need to do a 12-hour, 14-hour day at my business and not know at the end of it if it was profitable. But do you find that it's a matter of a combination of not understanding how to evaluate and monitor and track their finances, and being afraid to face it and find out that maybe the profits aren't there?
Well, first of all, it's not fun, right? No one is like, yay, I get to do my bookkeeping. And it's honestly something that if you know you're not going to get to it, then hire a bookkeeper. It's really not an expensive thing to outsource. You can find a bookkeeper for anywhere from, depending on where you live, and the level of experience of the person you choose, somewhere between $25 and $50 an hour is kind of what I see for a bookkeeper to pay per hour. And it really wouldn't take them very long to at least get you started. Even just hiring someone for 2 or 3 hours to get you set up into a system that you could use and keep up to date, and maybe check in with them quarterly or check in with them, twice a year. That most people could afford in their business. And it's smart because once you get a handle on your money, then you can know where you stand and know what you need to have coming in. And I find what I really love to help women do is to create a goal, not just a revenue goal of the amount of money they want to come in, but also a profit goal, which is that money they have left over to spend or save, for themselves. Nice. And it's tricky because especially, the women listening, they're interior designers and they're creatives. They most likely, their brain does not like dealing with numbers and spreadsheets. Right. They're probably not analytical. And that's what makes them good at what they do. Right. I love for us to focus on our strengths and work in our strengths. And when we're able to outsource those things that are a struggle for us or are really hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It just, to me, there's no point in not facing it. And to me, it's a line item that has to go in from day one. Like you said, you have a business checking account, there's certain things, set yourself up at the right legal entity. And then, like you said, if it's a quarterly check-in, and that means you don't have dinner with the family on a particular Saturday night because that's what the accountant is going to cost for that quarterly check-in, it's a non-negotiable in my mind, right? I mean, it just isn't. Of all the things, because what I feel like, Natalie, is that if you are going to have a business, that is a fundamental thing of having the business, is understanding how to track and forecast your profits and your net expenses. And so without doing that, you're not doing a business. You're doing interior design for free or for not free. You don't even know what you're doing it for, right?
Yeah. And I think it's complicated for interior designers because often they're making purchases on behalf of their clients. And then the client may decide, oh, I don't want these things. So then they are returning items. And there's some complicated accounting that can go on. And you need a system for keeping track of that, whether it's a paper system or an electronic system. I don't really care which it is, as long as there's a way to keep track of it, right, and you know where you stand. And I agree with you. I think it's tricky, especially if you're have a creative brain and mind, to get the focus on that. But as soon as you can, and I agree with you for day one, if you can, you got to find a way to get the money to hire it. Even like I said, just finding someone to sit down with you and get you started to create a system that you could maintain will be incredible. And once you start looking at your numbers, it's exciting. Like, right, you start to see the growth. Okay, if my goal is, say, to make $10,000 a month in revenue, how many clients do I need to have to make that money? Right. And then you can even think, what if I raise my prices? Then I need even fewer clients. I love helping people raise their prices. It's one of the things I've known for. I actually had 3 clients get together with me for lunch the other day, and they're like, yeah, Natalie told me to raise my prices. And then they're like, oh, me too. And the other one, me too. And I'm like, okay, you guys know my secret. All I do is tell people raise your prices and they're all happy with me. But we have confidence that we're not worth a certain level. But what I find, we make judgment calls on people and what they charge. Yes. And if you charge too little, especially, in this industry, the perception is that you don't know what you're doing.
Right. That the value isn't there. It's exactly right. And I've had this conversation 2 times now in the last month with different guests that people shop for everything in brackets. You shop for a house in a bracket. You go looking for a house and you say to your realtor, I want to see houses between $500,000 and $700,000. So that house that's $725,000, you're not going to see. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you could look at a house from $700,000 to $1 million. And people do that with every single purchase. And so if you are pricing your services at $85 to $100 an hour, and the designer across the street is pricing her services at $250 an hour, you're going to attract 2 different clients. And the reality is that what I always tell them is you're probably very comparable talent-wise. You're just putting out the different message to the world, right?
Yes. And you might be surprised. So this goes back to like that confidence, like where you are landing, confidence-wise. And I've experienced this in my own business. I used to do masterminds with women of all different levels kind of mixed together. And they were all women entrepreneurs. That was what they had in common. They all had, momentum and growth in their business. But what I learned like towards the end of 2016 is that I was actually attracting a lot of women who had 6-figure businesses and beyond that 6-figure, multi-6-figure businesses, and even a few with 7-figure businesses. And I thought, wow, what if I did a mastermind where I brought that group of ladies together? And I knew I could charge more, right? Because one, it's hard to find them. I'm doing a service by bringing them together. I like to say, I found your peers for you because you can't find them, especially at that level. It's really hard to find women that are entrepreneurs, that are successful, that are at that level, and create your own mastermind. And I added in coaching. I added in Voxer access. So those ladies have kind of some VIP things that I offer. And I created this higher level offering for a niche of my market. And it's been incredible to work with those ladies. But I have to tell you, getting there to raise my prices, to offer that offering, to believe that I am worthy of working with those women, which by the way, I am. Right. But I will say that I've had mindset issues I've had to deal with. And now I'm attracting more and more 7-figure business owners. And I'm again experiencing, those same confidence issues. And I share this openly because I know that every single woman listening, and gentlemen too, but especially, I feel like women especially struggle with this. We all are having these issues of confidence. We're not talking about it with each other, and we can't see inside other people's heads. All we see is like the outside of them, right? We see their beautiful website,
styled and perfect.
We see their Instagram post. We see their, it looks like this most amazing, beautiful life and business, right? Right. But we're all dealing with confidence issues and up-leveling. And so having either an accountability partner, a business coach, or a mastermind is so invaluable to help you, one, know you're not alone. And I want everyone to know they're not alone. So to know you're not alone and that this is normal. That's another part of my coaching. I just tell people what they're going through is normal because it is. And I have the benefit of saying, I've worked and I've worked with 150 different women in a one-time coaching session in the last 18 months. Wow. So I have a really great view of the state of entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurs. I really have a great grassroots feel for what women are feeling and struggling with across the board at all different levels of business in all different industries. And the commonality is we are all dealing with these mindset issues in our business of up-leveling, and our money history comes into play, like what happened to our family growing up, what our family said about money, and business owners. And going to these next levels in our business is a struggle for everyone.
So Natalie, let me ask you a question. Do you find that most of the issues that you are dealing with in your masterminds are of breaking through, helping people break through these mental hurdles? Or I mean, I share it with you. I ask you the question that way because anybody who listens to my show on a regular basis knows that I was raised with the Silva method by my mother and her sister, my Aunt Honey, and they know that I don't have mindset issues regarding this topic, and I don't ever have a problem raising a price or charging my fee or telling somebody that it's worth it, and if you don't want it, that's great. There's somebody else that you can afford, and no love lost, and we'll still be besties. Don't worry about it. I'm just not your girl. So I would come to a mastermind for technical information. I would come to a mastermind for, okay, how do I set this up and how do I do that? But do you find that what you're dealing more is really helping people get through some things and understanding their value? Or is it both is happening in your masterminds?
It's definitely a combination. I don't sell out there that I do this kind of mental work with people. I deliver what I sell.
Organically happens.
Yeah,
okay.
It does. And I don't think anyone really signs up for, okay, I need some help with my mind, So there are people that are really evolved, people that have done a lot of work on themselves. They will literally seek out, I need help with mindset. I need to find someone to help me with mindset. But that is not what I offer to the marketplace. So you're just saying that you're right. Okay. But it is something I deliver because the majority of women are not like you, LuAnn. You are special. You're very special, and you should be very thankful for that gift.
No, I am. I know it.
How you were trained to think about and deal with money. I find that people that are natural salespeople, they're similar to you. They don't struggle with that. In fact, I literally just got off of a mastermind call with a 6-figure plus group, and 2 of the women are really great at sales. And I was like, so when you guys hear no, what does that mean? They're like, I'm like, does no mean no? And they're like, no.
No, it just means I didn't find the thing to sell you yet.
Exactly. I'm like, how does it make you feel? They're like, I don't feel anything. I just have to figure out the next part. That is unusual.
Why would it make me feel something?
Yeah, exactly.
It makes me feel find the solution for them. You didn't find the solution.
Exactly. And that is special. That is a unique thing that a very small percentage of women feel. And so what's great is I put together groups with mixtures of personalities, mixtures of industries, mixtures of educational background, location. And so in the mastermind, they are getting something from each other in different ways. Nice. And we never really fully know what, each week who's going to kind of help which person, right. But it's a variety. Like I have another gal in that group that launched a virtual summit for her business. And so there was like a lot of technical stuff going on with that. And, let's look at your sales page. And so it really varies. But what I find, with the women at that level, it is like dealing with, how would it be if I go to this, like this was the level I was trying to get to. And oh my gosh, I'm here. Like I haven't yet dreamed of the next level. And now I'm starting to dream about it, and it's bigger and it's scarier, and there's other issues coming into play. So at that level, women are really starting to need a team to support them if they are going to go to this next step in their business. And so a lot of that group is, how do I hire people? How do I scale my business? How do I multiply myself? And then how do I enjoy the fruits of my labor too? Right. So many of us who get to that level, we're doers, right? Do. We've been taught to work hard, and we have this incredible work ethic. But what happens when you've delegated well and you have a day where, you really don't have anything to do? Can you take the day off? Can you go have fun? Can you go to a movie in the afternoon?
I don't know.
Binge Netflix? So also giving them permission to, enjoy what they've created and try to take a step back and try to, we're usually building our business for our why. Like, what is the why behind what you're doing? And to kind of go back to that and make sure you're creating that for yourself.
That's good. I like that. That's good. It's funny when you said binge watch Netflix and stuff. I can remember of course, I've got to go back 15 years for this, but I can remember here in New Jersey, we are usually good for half a dozen or more, sometimes a dozen or more snowstorms a year. But we often in a year will get that 1 3-footer storm where you're not going anywhere. I mean, it's not Chicago or, the Midwest where they're going to clear out a 3-foot storm in a minute and a half. This is New Jersey, and we'll get rid of 10 or 12 or 15 inches and you'll get to work. But 3 feet is sort of like we're standing still. And I can remember back in the day before the internet and before cell phones when we would be preparing. The news is all telling you it's coming. And of course, you're scheduling and making all the phone calls in your business and so forth, telling everybody that the installations aren't going to be happening and we're not sure if we're going to get in to make phone calls or this and that and anything. And I just remember thinking I always wanted at least one of those a year, because then you didn't work and you didn't feel guilty about working, and you did. You just, played in the snow with your kids, had hot chocolate, watched, TV, and there was even now, like we had a snowstorm last year, and the whole time I'm like, well, your computer works, you know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, it's just a regular work day, but I have that memory. It's almost like a childhood memory, even though it's not I wasn't a child, but it's like a childhood business memory. And it's like the way you long for something in your childhood that you're like, oh, I want to do that again. I'm like, I long for that.
Well, LuAnn, I want to remind you then that you are the boss and you actually could create that for yourself. In fact, you could put it on the calendar and just make it happen. It's hard.
You'll be the first to know if I actually ever cross into that deep water and do that, Natalie.
I may have to have a conversation with you. I think in 2017 we need at least one of those. I think you could find at least one of those days.
That's it. What happens is they always happen by necessity. Something will happen with one of your kids or one of your people or, your family member. And then all of a sudden it's like, then you say, well, this is why I'm self-employed. I'm off the grid today. Cancel my appointments. I've got to go here. My mother needs me. My kid needs me. This and that. But it's not like you're sitting around watching Netflix, right?
No, it's true. But I think that we can, go to the spa. Like if we have trouble really turning it off, we could, whatever our thing is that we love. Maybe you love hiking. Maybe you love going to the water. Maybe you love, being somewhere in a bookstore, finding, used bookstore, finding, old books and turn off the stuff, take yourself off the grid. And we do have to plan it and we have to allow ourselves to not feel guilty about it. And that is like one of the things, like when you're in a group, when you're in a mastermind or in any kind of community and you see someone else that's a peer do that and give you permission. It almost gives you permission to do that.
Well, you see that it can be done just like anything else. I mean, I love that for masterminds for that, because whatever it is, whether you're struggling with a mindset over money, you're struggling over a mindset on being entitled to being the boss and being able to take a day off from work, you're so right, Natalie, because as soon as you see someone else doing it, and guess what? The world didn't stop. It's sort of like, I could probably do that too, right?
Well, it's not a life or death business that any of us are in that are listening to this, as far as I know. Like if I take a Friday off, like the world no one's going to be harmed.
Yeah. What I find, you would probably be able to coach me through this, but I find that I generally approach the weekends with, well, if I just work straight through, I'll get so caught up that I start Monday with a clear desk. And then guess what? The next week will be so much more productive and be a regular work week instead of a 14-hour day. Oh my goodness, maybe it would be a 10-hour day, which would be a vacation. And that will make it worth it to work all weekend through. Well, it's about 3 years of doing that. And what happens is when I work all the way through, of course, I'm putting quotes out there. I'm putting different things out there. It creates more sales, more work. And then all of a sudden we come in Monday and there's like 5 new orders. I'm like, okay, that worked. That was good.
Yeah. And I love that Parkinson's law. Do you know Parkinson's law? It says work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So if you give yourself 14 hours, you'll find 14 hours of work. But if you gave yourself 2 on Saturday morning, then you would probably get a bunch of stuff done, maybe even equal to it. I know I do that with my podcast. Like creating content for me is actually challenging. And because I'm
It's
a
all you
recovering
now. Yeah.
I'm a recovering perfectionist, but I'm actually maybe still a perfectionist. So I lapse daily, we should say. So I will wait until like the deadline. This is why I have to outsource my editing. I can't have my husband do it because I used to like at 10 p.m. go, so sweetie, could you edit this and, do all the stuff that needs to be done. And I'd like it to be released by 2 a.m.
Right.
And he had enough of that, which is good because I need boundaries for that. So, but I totally understand. Like I will wait until I would think that I'd need a couple hours to maybe, polish my podcast, do what I need to do. But if I only have an hour and it's due to my editor, I will get it done in that hour. If I have 5 hours, I will wait and, I will kind of work on it, but I need those deadlines and I need the time allowed for a task to not be the whole weekend, LuAnn.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I'll bet the designers listening can relate because many designers work on a billable structure. So they might say to an interior design client that this particular project will take me 6 hours to design. Maybe it's a kitchen remodel or something like that. And so they'll bill for, maybe it's a flat fee and they know that it's going to take 6 hours or whatever like that. But then when they go to do it, it might be a lot of that. Because a lot of times the designers will say, well, it didn't take 6 hours. It took 10 hours, but I felt bad billing for 10 because it only, it should have taken 6 or I only took 6 or I told it would take 6 or whatever like that. But the difference is what you're saying is, be true and look in the mirror with yourself. And did it need to take 10 or did you putz and dream and putz and move it around and then finally sit down to work 3 or 4 hours and it really could have taken you 6, right? Because I know that feeling too. I will, and especially when you're doing something creative. For me, it's when I'm doing something creative, and a lot of it does center around the podcast as well, as far as, or the book I'm working on, right? It's like writing a chapter in the book. And I will say all day long, oh yeah, that long walk where I was kicking those ideas around, that was working on the book. And like my friend Edie that we have in common, she'll be like, that wasn't working on the book, LuAnn. Working on the book is the computer is open and you're typing. I'm like, yeah, I know, you're right.
Yeah, so I have a book I want to write too, LuAnn, and I know that the only way I will write a book is if I have a coach or accountability. I'm going to have to pay someone to give me deadlines. And that's what I do with speaking too. So speaking is challenging for me. So I hire a speaking coach, which is Carol Cox, who you know as well.
Right. Was my coach. I learned of her from your podcast, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. She's been on my podcast and become a great friend. And so when I had my first speaking engagement, I hired Carol to help me get it done on time. And really, I was like, I'm paying you to make me get this done.
That's right.
So I'm like, if I don't have you, I will be working on my slides and crafting this on the plane as I fly across the country. And she looked at me with such horror, why would anyone do that? And I was like, that's what I'll do because I'm so busy and I need to have an appointment to make this happen. So I think that's another thing you can do. If you're struggling with, getting something creative done is to literally pay someone to create those boundaries for you. Mm-hmm. And then just circling back to interior designers and the clients they're dealing with, having been a client, people are going to push your boundaries too, right? So it also may be that it took 10 hours because the project got out of scope and you didn't feel comfortable going back to the client and saying, well, actually, this design was just for your family room, not your family room plus your bedroom, plus your daughter's room, plus the bathroom and the kitchen. Right. So, I mean, you need to be that there needs to be, some boundaries and thicker skin and some backbone involved in pushing back with the client and saying, well, here was the first part of the project. If you want to do these other parts, then here's what those are going to be. And because it's natural, and as a client, we don't know how long things take. We don't know all the things that you're having to do in your business. And often it's just letting someone know that. And there are some people that are difficult clients, right? That are going to push your buttons and see how far that they can push you. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm a troublesome client, but I want to get all that I can for what I'm paying for. But I also respect when someone says, well, this is what you paid for and this is what you're getting. So there's I think there's some of that probably going on too, in this industry, and it happens in lots of industries as well. And I would say that's also something that, being in community with either people in your industry, or, you know, whether it's a mastermind in your industry or a mastermind of women from different industries, or just, you know, having kind of an accountability partner,
right,
or a coach, having some people in your life that can, from the outside in, go, well, why are you doing all that for this price? Or why are you not writing your book when you're walking? You know, like these things are not competing. And we do need to have those people in our life that are going to challenge us and also support us, right? It really helps you to have those boundaries with people when you know that you have people supporting you.
And it's funny because as you're talking, I'm thinking of a couple of different things. One is that your masterminds are particularly restricted to only one person per industry. So you wouldn't have a mastermind with 2 interior designers in it, which I can see the value in that for sure, because it is nice to have the perspective of people outside your industry. For exactly like what you said, sometimes when you're so close to your own industry, you don't realize how your client has no idea of what it is that you do and how long it takes to do it. So being in a mastermind with outside industry people, you know, I can just see the advantage there of somebody sharing like, well, why would it take you 6 hours to do that floor plan? It's like anybody in the industry would never question that, but outside. So there's value there. I also see the value of being in an industry specific one.
Definitely.
Right? Because
definitely.
Yes, because then you can turn around and say, and watch like what I said a few moments ago. Oh, you did it. Oh, all right. I could do it too. Like it worked for you.
Yes.
You raised your rates and you're still billing, you know, or you have, you know, decided that you like, it's one of the things you touched on is having the courage, the backbone to be able to look back at your client and say, this is not what we agreed to do. You're pushing
Correct.
it past the agreement. And that's common to every business person to learn that skill. And of course, you know, I find sometimes I tend to be a little, Nazi about it, I guess is the way. And it's the word because, like, of course, it's my personality to begin with. I mean, I've been called a mommy Nazi by all of the kids, my husband, everybody. And then I was boss Nazi and whatever I am. So I feel like, you know, first of all, it's my personality, but also because I do know that these things work. You know, I've been down these roads that, you know, a lot of business owners are on now. And I know that it is hard to stand in your space and push back at a client. And I know that it is hard those first 1, 2, 10, 20 times to say you are pushing this past the point of our agreement. But what I know is from having stood there and said those words and pushed back, I know that most of the time, it's as you said, Natalie, the client isn't doing it to be a bad client. They're doing it because they truly didn't understand that they were asking for more than was expected. And a little education goes a long way. And then it becomes, to me, once you've had, look, you're always going to have the client that's no good, that really is no good, out for everything and yada, yada. But human nature is such that is the 1 out of 10. It's not the 9 out of 10. And when you have 9 out of 10 experiences where you really could see somebody's eyes open up and they go, oh my goodness, that wasn't my intent. I'm so sorry. Then it gives you the gas to do it again. I just said it to somebody this past week. I did her custom draperies for her couple years ago. She moved to a new home. She drags this box out with these draperies. I mean, gorgeous custom drapes are like in a ball in a box. And I'm like dying looking at them. And she's like, these are so beautiful. They're still good. You know, I want to use them again in this house and blah, blah, blah. And I take a look at them and they are literally 3 times wider than the window. And they're about 6 inches too short for the window. Now, can I do that? Can I take those apart and make it work? And she's standing there and her husband's like, well, I'm like, you know, this is not inexpensive to do this. And he's like, well, we've already paid for all the fabric. How much could it be? And I just like looked at it. And so what I did was, to your point, I explained what he was not seeing. And I said, well, picture this. I said, someone has to sit there by hand and pull every single stitch out of this drapery with extra care not to ruin the drapery. I said, how many hours do you think it takes us to do that? To just pull every single stitch out of this and not abuse the fabric while we're doing it. I said, then we have to lay it all out, press it, iron it, do everything else to it, cut it to the size, open it up, lengthen it, and then actually, guess what? Make a drape again. Like we did the first time.
And then get started, because now we're back with a blank, sheet of fabric. Not
Yes.
blank, but like a starting spot.
Exactly.
Yeah, my grandma's a seamstress, so I already, my mind was like, oh my gosh, all the stuff you would have to do.
Yeah, just to,
but
like
I
you
would
said, to
never
get
know
to the
that
blank.
if I haven't, if you've
Right.
never watched someone make something
Right.
like that,
And
you would have no idea.
Right. And the thing was, I watched his face. He just went, oh yeah. Because he's thinking, I paid $3,000 for these drapes. You'll probably charge me $300 to make them, less wide and shorter. And I'm like, no, not happening. So the lesson in there is to really evaluate yourself, know your worth, right, Natalie? Know what you're worth. Coach yourself along, or get a coach, or be involved in a mastermind, or just at the very least an accountability partner to really encourage you to evaluate your worth and charge for what you're worth, help you be accountable for your time, to not just squander away your day and wish for rainy, snowy days and Netflix so you could relax.
Well, and one thing I find with business owners often is that, especially when they're kind of starting out or they've kind of plateaued, they're actually finding they are doing a lot of busy work that is actually not bringing them in money.
Right.
So they're spending a lot of time on social media that, maybe long term could possibly bring them money, or they're redesigning their website or spending a lot of money and time on branding when all they really need to do is to get out there and get another client. And so I really love for people to start their day off with tasks and items on their to-do list that they can see brings them in money. The best ones are where you just need to send an invoice.
Right.
Like send that invoice out.
Right. Don't wait till 2:00 doing 90 things before that. That goes out first thing.
Yeah. Start off with activities that can bring money into your business and then go on social media. But I find that a lot of women think that if I just created enough content, if I get these images so beautiful. I had one client that was actually doing custom paintings for her Instagram. She was creating paintings. She's not an interior designer. She has a different business, but she was an artist, and she was doing these amazing paintings, but it actually wasn't bringing in any income into her business. Right. And maybe it was going to a year from now, but we can create. Get to a year from now. We've got to create. We create busy work, so we feel like we're doing business. But here's kind of what I want to make sure that I share, especially if you're married. I'm talking to the women that are married here. If you have your own business and money is not coming from your business into your family, then your husband is not going to respect your business. He is going to think you have a hobby and that you're spending all this time and energy away from the family without a real benefit to the family. Right. So when I also talk to a lot of women who have conflict in their marriage or related to their business, or they'll say their husband isn't supportive. And I'll say, well, what amount of money are you regularly contributing to the family household budget? And it's usually very little or very sporadic. When you create a regular amount that you can commit to the family, it will smooth those things out and also just make you feel really good about yourself and your business. It will give you that confidence. It's really incredible.
I love that, Natalie. That is so insightful right there, because it's so true. And the thing is, if you're not contributing and if you're not earning money and contributing to the family, guess what? It is a hobby. I mean, honestly,
it is.
There's no arguing with it. It's logical. And if all it's doing is, maybe it's quite fulfilling for you as an individual person to be creating beautiful environments and spaces. But if you are not participating in the things that your family does, and you are walking away from different things that your family does, or missing them, and you like you said, you're not bringing in income to that, then it really is a hobby, and you may as well go to yoga.
And I do talk to a lot of women that are like, really, my family doesn't need me to make money. Like, my husband has this amazing job, and it can kind of be a hobby. So what I suggest to those women, so then you are lacking a need for hustle. Because I can tell you, if you had to pay the rent, you would be getting out there and getting a client. Right. And you would be holding boundaries with clients. And you would be running your business very differently. So we need to create we need to create a forced hustle in your business. And so I love for women in those situations to think about what is a dream they have that they could fulfill for their family. Perhaps they would love to fund their child's college education. Perhaps they would like to take the whole family on a trip to Europe and be able to say, my business took all of us here. This is what I've been working for, all year.
Isn't that
to create some amazing goal that you can be working towards, that will create that hustle. But we have to have a reason for what we're doing. If we don't need to hustle, a lot of us aren't going to.
Right.
So,
and why should you if you don't need to? I mean, not for nothing.
I hear
to have one fun client a month and call it a day.
Yeah. And if there's nothing wrong with that also.
Right.
If that is okay with you and your family and that feels good to you, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what the women that come to me are having difficulties with something, and that's who I'm talking to.
Exactly.
And
right.
So
the ones who want it to be a business and it's not meeting that criteria. So
exactly.
But it's
or
think about it, treat it.
Supporting it. Yeah. Right. Or their husband isn't supporting it and we figure out why.
Right.
So, but having those goals and whether it's, to contribute to the family a certain amount every month or to contribute to a savings account so that you can do something or create something amazing for yourself or your family, that really creates inspiration and creates hustle in your business.
I love it. I hope all you guys can hear why I love Natalie so much.
I
do. I look forward to your podcast loading up in my iTunes every week. And I'm like, yep, there's a new one. Okay.
Wow. As a podcaster, that means so much that you're part, I'm part of a lot of people's routines now. And, there's some weeks where I don't have the inspiration, and I would like to take a week off or 2 weeks off. And I don't because I have in the past, but I don't now because I'm so committed to the people that are waiting for, that are excited. Just what you just said. I can't even imagine if it didn't load up one week. I'd be like, "Where's Natalie?"
I mean, I'm telling you that point blank. I'd be like, "Oh, where is she?" And what's funny is, other than that one, gawky moment where I was like, "Oh, you're Natalie," we have. I don't think we've talked. We don't think we've ever talked. I mean, we've interacted on social media a little bit, maybe 3 or 4 times. So I know it sounds like to everybody that we know each other, but we don't. It's no different than some of you listening that I met on social media, then interviewed you on the show, and we just hit it off, and it's fine. But the thing is that I really would be. I'd be like, okay, I have to call Carol. Can I can call Carol, right? She was my coach. I can ask her, is Natalie okay? I'd be like, who can I find out? Where is she?
Yes. So I'm very committed to that. And I'm really honored that you feel that way and that you wait for my podcast. That will inspire me, honestly, in, some week coming up where I'm just like, oh, I don't think I have it in me.
Well, I think what I would probably really do, I'd be like, did I hear last week's? Did she say she was not going to be airing for? I would have to go back and listen to the week before, and then I'd be like, nope, she didn't. Okay, where is she?
Yeah, I love it. Well, actually, I have a sponsor for my podcast now, so I'm actually contractually required to podcast, which is good because you've heard I need some some deadlines in my life that are forced by other people. So that has been a little bonus. Like right after I got that sponsorship, which was last fall, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to podcast now. It's not just this thing I love doing and that I'm able to connect with all these women around the world, but I actually am required to at this point. So it hasn't changed. I still love it. It's the most amazing medium. And it allows me to meet women like you, LuAnn, like for us we never would have met. How else would we have met if it wasn't through podcasting? So it's so great. And I'm excited to see you in a few weeks.
I know, right? Right. Out in Anaheim. We're going to get together for Podcast Movement. We're going to see all our homies. I'm really excited about that too. Now, but before I let you go, tell all of my peeps out here, you have a live event that you're planning in the San Diego area, right?
In Orange County, which is kind of in between San Diego and Los Angeles, and we're near the beach, which is nice. I'm having a live event for my community and for women entrepreneurs, any women entrepreneurs that want to come. I would love for them to consider it. And it's focused on women that have a business already. So it's not a like how to launch a business event. It's you have a business. How can we take it to the next level? And we're going to be actually giving time to everyone. We're gonna kind of give a method for planning out your 2018, planning the rest of your year. So it takes place in October. I don't think we said that, October 18th to 20th, 2017. And we're, I don't know about you, LuAnn, but kind of once the holidays hit, it's hard for me to like do a lot of strategic planning for my business. So the idea is that
doing it before it hits. That's good for you, because everybody says, "Oh, I'm going to do it in December at the end of the year." But then, like you said, as mothers, as entrepreneurs, it's like, oh, okay, maybe January. Next thing you know, you wake up, it's March, and you haven't done your planning. So I agree. Good timing.
I've been there even like New Year's Day, going, okay, it's a new year. Wait, what's my plan? So everybody's going to walk away with a plan, and we even have one night where we're going to go back to our room and change into comfy clothes and come back and put music on and do some work together. Nice. So that's going to be really fun. And then I have speakers coming in, some of whom you know, some of whom you may not know. So Carol Cox, who we've mentioned several times, is my speaking coach, and I think you're a speaking coach. Right. And she's coming in, and we're going to do a focus on visibility and how to be more visible in your business, and how to pitch to speak, and how to pitch to be a guest on podcasts.
Nice.
And then Natalie Gingrich is a project manager by trade, and just so great at helping people map out the strategic objectives for their business. I've hired her to help me in my business. She spent a day with me and continues to work with me. So she's going to teach her method, and then we're all going to create our strategic objectives. She has about 7 different ways that you could focus your business, and we can only focus on 2 or 3 at a time. Of course, we try to focus on all 7, but she's going to help us narrow down and choose for, the beginning of how we're going to launch 2018, what strategic objectives we're going to focus on. And then Shelley Warren, who is coming all the way from Canada, from Eastern Canada to Southern California to meet with us. She is going to talk to us about building a team, how to, she calls it stacking a team. So how to hire people that you could then hire below, that they could manage people in the future.
Oh, I like that.
Hiring people, with a future of your business in mind, and then literally how to hire people. We're going to give sample job descriptions. We're having a workbook. So it's going to be really amazing. I'm excited about, inspiring people. I'm going to be talking about, of course, goal setting and how to create that plan for your year, but also how to sell authentically. And it's going to be, it's a lot, and even moments for, community and connecting. And we're starting out on a yacht on Newport Harbor with a sunset cruise. So we're starting off by connecting and being in community, and then the next 2 days really focusing in on everyone's businesses.
It's so exciting. I have to say, for our industry, we've got High Point Market that happens in North Carolina from, I think this year it's the 15th to the 19th or something like that. So it sort of overlaps, but we're a big industry. There's tens and tens of thousands of interior designers, and of course not everyone is going. So if you are listening to Natalie, if you're even half as impressed with her as I am, I know that this would be an amazing event to attend if you have the ability, time, and funds to do it. There's no question that you will really come away with some actionable how do I like that word? Actionable. There's like about 8 words. I don't know about you on your podcast, but I have about 8 words that it takes me 5 times to say them right each time.
It's not easy. So, yes, I would love we're going to have women from all different industries. So kind of that benefit we were talking about of having outsiders looking on your business. And we're going to be sitting in, round tables. So we'll be able to really connect with the ladies that we're sitting with and get to know them and get to interact with them. And it'll be great. But there's also benefits for attending industry, events as well. So it's always a balance and balance of funds, and another reason to get your books in order to see what your business can support you doing this year. So
exactly. And then Natalie, is your Biz Chix Facebook community a community that the designers listening that you can join, or is that only if you've been?
No.
Right? Because I'm in that, and I haven't had personal personal coaching, right? It's two different groups. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So I do have a membership site that's for women that I've worked with, where I kind of gather them all together because I want them to all know each other. Right. But I have a free open Facebook group, and you can get an invitation to join by going to bizchix.com. So it's bizchix.com, and click on the yellow join the community button, and you just share your name and email, and then you get a link to the group to join. Right. So what's great is it's not this humongous group with all these random people, and it's generally filled with people that listen to the podcast or have heard me speak somewhere. And it has about 1,500 people as we're recording this right now.
Yeah, no,
so
it's a great
really
group.
Supportive group. I've been in a lot of different Facebook groups, and some that have gotten really large, and I really love the culture of the group that and the ladies that come in there, and they really just support each other. Mm-hmm. And people ask great questions, and they get amazing answers, and it's one of my favorite places to hang out. So it's a lot of fun in there.
Yeah, no, you really are and you're an inspired leader, Natalie. I really do. Hats off to you. And I just love everything that you do. And I'm just so happy and grateful that you shared your time with us on the show. Like I said, I've talked about you, half a dozen times throughout the year and a half, and just always something where I said, Natalie said this, or one of my favorite shows or whatever. So it's been a real treat for me, and I'm sure for my listeners too, to get to know you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, LuAnn, for the opportunity to spend time with you, but also to share with all the listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.